Welcome to day 4 of the 2020 Lead Generation Challenge. I'm so proud of you guys. It's been amazing to see you do your homework, to show up every day, and just to do the work. So, congratulations. We're not done yet. Tomorrow is like extra special. You don't want to miss it. I'm super pumped for that. As you're jumping on, tell me what has been your biggest breakthrough, biggest takeaway. How you doing this gorgeous day? Hey, Heather. Welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing today? It is another beautiful day in Orlando. It was chilly this morning. Whew. Hey, Taryn. Hey, Maria. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Amy. Woot, day 4. Can you believe it? This week is just flying by. Oh my goodness. All right, what's been your biggest takeaway so far? And let's do another fun fact. So, fun fact about me is I got baptized when I was 20. And then we actually went to Israel in February, and so our whole family got baptized in the Jordan River. So that was a freaking cool experience. Super grateful for that. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Carrie. What's a fun fact about you, and what's been your biggest takeaway so far? Good morning, Wendy. So tomorrow, same time, 1 o'clock, different place. We're going to be meeting on Webinar Jam. So in your email, you'll get a link to where we're going to meet, and I'll be posting it in here. So no one get lost. We'll meet you there. Webinar Jam will just be easier because I have some slides that I want to share. We're going like in depth and like, oh, it's good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Hey, Donna, I'm happy you're on here live. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so tomorrow, set aside about an hour on your calendar for the masterclass. It'll be awesome. And today, we're talking about content. So I am super pumped to be talking all things content today. And like I said yesterday, I also wanted to talk about some of the things from the Infinite Growth Challenge, just because this is needed. So we're talking also about limiting beliefs. So we'll start with content. I want to make sure I answer as many of your questions as I possibly can, and then we'll jump into the limiting beliefs and talk about that. So, who here is creating consistent content on a regular basis? Like every single week, you are uploading a blog post, you're doing a podcast, you're doing something where you're being very, very, very consistent. Tell me if you are. Aaron says, my biggest takeaway from this week is that I can do this and put myself out there in front of people, and I don't have to hold back on top of being way more clear on my message. Thanks to you and everyone here. Yes, I love that. Yes, you can. You can totally do this. You can totally do this. Fun fact about Donna is I've bowled 200 to 300 games. Biggest takeaway is able to go so in depth with my ideal client, determine their exact pain points, how to address them. Amazing. Okay, Taryn, Activate student. Of course, you're creating a weekly blog post. I love it. I love that consistency. So, you guys, if you want to be awesome at lead generation, you have to commit today to creating content on a consistent basis. It like if you want to build an awesome business and have new leads coming to you, you can't do that by not doing this part. And so I want this to be a huge takeaway for you is that you got to show up and you got to do the work. And that doesn't mean, because I saw some of you post, I'm so busy, I don't know how I can fit this in. Dude, I'm busy too. But we figure out a way to batch content, which I'll talk about, so you can save so much time, reach so many more people. And it doesn't have to be this like, oh, I have to do another thing. Because that's the last thing I want you to think is, oh my gosh, like I have to do another thing. Okay. And so I want you to think about creating a content calendar, and that's actually where you're going to plan your content in advance and becoming super intentional about it. And so figuring out the next month, 2 months, even 3 months if you want. So if you're posting a blog post or a podcast every week, let's just go with a blog post just for simplicity's sake, but your content can be whatever it is that you want to be. I asked you where your ideal client is. Some of your ideal clients are going to be showing up on the blog. Some of them are going to be more podcast listeners. It really just depends on what you love to do and where you think your ideal client is, and do a little market research to see where they're hanging out the most. But for simplicity's sake, let's say we're just talking blogging. If you're blogging every week, that means you can sit down and create a list of your next 4 blog posts for the next month, and you have that ready to go. If you want to do 2 months in advance, then you have 8 blog posts ready to go, or you have 12 blog posts, right? And so you have like the titles done. You have, if you're using SEO, search engine optimization, which is another way to generate leads, there's a really easy plugin for WordPress called Yoast. I'm pretty sure it's free. If it's not, it's super cheap, and I'm pretty sure there's like a free version, upgrade version. We probably have the free, where it'll tell you what you need to do to make sure your blog post is actually optimized for search engines. And so it makes it so, so simple. So simple. So I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. No, no, no. This is easy. Easy stuff. So blog post, plan it out, base it off of SEO and use Yoast, and let's batch, batch, batch. And so when I'm batching content, and I always batch content, you hardly ever see me ever just create one thing for my business. Like, I'm never going to just sit down and do one video. It's typically like 4 videos at a time. I've even done like 10 videos at a time. So it depends on you. I know right now, since I'm pregnant, I'm not doing 10 videos at a time just because my brain can't handle it. Like, does anyone else get pregnancy brain? I was trying to do batch for YouTube, and by the time I was done with my second video, I'm like, I can only do 2 today. Um, my brain was just like mush; it was gone. But most of the time, I'll do an entire month's worth of YouTube videos, and I'll sit and I'll have my content ready to go. So I'll know already. I'll batch the titles of those YouTube videos, and I'll write out like the main talking points of those YouTube videos. And then when it's time for me to record it, I'll just sit down, turn on the camera, I open up Zoom, press record, and boom, like that's it. So it doesn't have to be this big thing. But I want you to plan this out, and you can use Trello is something that we use for our business, or you could use just like a Google spreadsheet or Google Drive or whatever. There's so many different ways you could stay organized with this. I like Trello personally. Again, another free platform. I have a YouTube video on how to use Trello for your business. I'll see if I can find that. Um, but you want to make sure you're creating some kind of system where like this is already planned for you, and you know, okay, Monday, I'm doing this for my business. And then you might not have to do it again for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks because you batched it, right? And so what happens when you start doing this? People are going to start to see you as an authority figure in your niche when you start creating authoritative content. And you might not feel like an authority now, but the more you do it and the more you show up, like it's gonna come. It's gonna come. So create content like you know what you're talking about because you do. And your ideal clients will start to see you as that go-to expert. Who here is using Trello? Is anyone using Trello? That would be my number one recommendation for planning out your content. Just use Trello. It's so easy. It's free. But if you're like old school, you can use a Google spreadsheet. Let me see. Heather is creating consistent every week, but not consistent enough. All right. What do you need to do to show up consistently? I want to hammer this point home. Consistency is king with everything that you're doing. Consistency is king. You have to show up. Have to. Carrie says, I think I've posted once a week on my blog, but it's also only 2-ish weeks old. Still do it. Okay. Keep doing it. Erin says, I've been consistent with creating and posting every day for my clients. Now let's start doing this for myself. Okay, this is really important. So some of my clients and students, they have service-based businesses where they're doing like done for you stuff, like done for you Pinterest management or Facebook ads or something like that. And what happens is they start to prioritize their clients' businesses over their own. And then eventually the leads start to run out, right? Because you're not putting your own content out there and you're not showing up as that authoritative figure. And so you want to make sure the first hour or 2 hours of your day is dedicated to your own business and your own content creation before you do your client work. If you make that switch, Erin, I promise you, like you're going to see huge changes in your business. Christy says, I'm only doing 1 blog post per month. Okay, what do you need to do to be more consistent? What do you need to do to make this non-negotiable? Non-negotiable for you. Donna says, I'm blogging every week, posting on my Facebook page and group every day, working on ramping up content on Pinterest, getting more consistent with that. Fabulous. How this is the free version of Yoast is great. Awesome. I don't want you spending money if you don't have to. So download Yoast free. Awesome. Sarah says, I have pregnancy brain and my daughter's 5. Yeah, that too. I think it's mommy brain at that point. Abby says, do you create all your emails to automate along with the batch blog or YouTube videos? Yes. So we batch our emails as well. And we definitely do that because we, like, even when I only emailed once a week, I still batched a month's worth of emails at a time. So like literally one of the things that I use to have a calendar, like use Google Calendar. And so on there, I'll set up reminders of myself. So like every Friday or every Monday or whatever, I'll set up a reoccurring reminder so I don't have to keep doing it of like write emails or whatever. So every 2 to 3 weeks, I have a reoccurring reminder to write emails and check to make sure like we're good. We have enough emails in the queue. So definitely batch emails as well. Emma says I'm blogging every week, but I need to improve my content as I've begun a niche on my ICA. I think it's getting better, but writing copy is an ongoing learning curve for me. For sure. So learning copy is definitely a skill that you're gonna want to learn as an entrepreneur. For sure. That's one of the most important skills that you can learn. Words That Sell is a really good book that you can get. And I'm trying to think of I have something. I have a website. Where did it go? Okay, good copy. Bum, 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 bum. Goodemailcopy.com is another good resource. Within Activate, we actually have a copy expert, which is pretty cool, that can look at your copy and help you write your copy. Stephanie says, I am. Terrence says, love Trello. When you start using Trello, it's going to change your life. Like I organize my whole life in there. It's amazing. Okay, let's go back to make sure homework and that we're all on the same page. So we talked about content, creating it consistently, batching to make sure you're getting as much done as humanly possible. Huge. And making sure you're creating content where your ideal client is hanging out. So if you have a Facebook group, posting consistently in that Facebook group, blogging on a consistent basis, right? And we don't want to create just surface content. We want to go deep in that content as well. So if you've read any of my blog posts or listened to my podcast, I go deep into those topics. It's not just surface stuff, right? Like I don't ever hide stuff, you know? And so go deep. And that's how you're really going to develop that know, like, and trust factor with your audience. So homework for today, number one, identify where your clients are hanging out, and then batch write your content to be consistently visible on those platforms. And I want you to come up with 5 content ideas. Okay. All right. Let me go back to your comments. Danielle says, I just started using Trello because I learned that in your creating killer content course. Amazing. Carrie says, I use Trello, but not for my website. You need to. Vanessa says, I feel like I create and post all over and then nothing really comes out of it. So I want to see where you're posting, where you're putting this content. Because if you're putting it on a bazillion different platforms, like you're repurposing it all over the place, it just know that every platform is different and you have to show up on those platforms in a different way, right? Christy says, I use Trello for my manual pinning strategy, but not for content calendars. I use my personal planner that I write in. I just need something sitting beside me to see and write and be able to check it off. That's fine too. Some people are like pen and paper. I do both a lot of times. So I have a notebook right here that, like, as I'm on the call and as I'm talking to people, I get, like, especially with podcast interviews and stuff, I get ideas and I'm taking notes and I'm like, oh, I could write a blog post about that. I write it here. And then I can transfer it over to Trello. Okay, Mallory says my OBM keeps me organized by using Trello. Lifesaver. Yes. Erin says I'm doing this. Can't wait to see the difference. Yes. Wendy says, is daily better and is weekly too little, or does it depend on the niche? For blogging purposes, I would not blog daily unless you have someone doing that for you, just because your blogs need to be value packed, at least 1,000 words. And it's going to be really freaking hard to do that consistently every single day. If you have the power to do that, like, go for it. I never would. I would never. Once a week is definitely more than enough. Yes, thank goodness for the replay, Sherry. Welcome. Kate says, what kind of content should I put on my blog? Should be personal or not? Not so much personal. You can tell personal stories, but then tie it into a lesson, a teaching moment. So posts that do really well are like how-to posts or ultimate guide posts, where just think about what one tip is, go to answerthepublic.com and you can actually see what people are asking questions based off. And then Quora is another example that I gave. People are asking questions in there. What's another one? Hold on. I have another one. Let me pull it up. BuzzSumo. So the BuzzSumo app, you can actually search like trending ideas. You can look on Pinterest and get different ideas. In general, something that's going to teach and add value to their life. A lot less, like you could weave in your personal story, but I wouldn't make it all personal. Catherine says, I've been writing blog posts every week for a year, but I haven't been consistent advertising them, so not many people are finding them. Yes. So you want to create the post, but also make sure it's optimized for SEO. You're putting it on Pinterest and you're sharing it consistently. And so we share our blog posts on Facebook and on Instagram. Like we're putting them on all these other platforms. You don't have to start there. So I didn't start putting all those places. I started with Yoast and with Pinterest. And so creating it, step one. Having a strategy where you're actually putting it out there on different platforms is step two. Abby says if you're not getting consistent traffic to your site through social media, posting on your own would be better use of time to post on other larger media sites, such as Abby, like medium.com. I mean, you could post it on Medium, but I want you to work on getting traffic to your site too. Okay, Christy, I listed 5 blog posts. My audience is mostly on Facebook. Okay. My clients are on Facebook, says Giselle, and Pinterest. Michelle asks, what's the reason for 1,000-word blog? Is it for SEO reasons? Yes. SEO and value add. A good podcast to listen to. I had Neil Patel on our podcast. Let me see if I can find that episode so you can listen to it. And he talks about that. Let me find it. Da, 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 da. Got it. Just Google Rachel and Ngom, Neil Patel. There you go. That's a really good podcast episode. Okay. Sherry says, still better to batch, I'd say. I can write 3,000 to 4,000 words of fiction in half a day. 1,000 per block shouldn't be an issue. I know. Okay, Synergy Solutions. I think I have to I'm thinking to have 1 blog post weekly, make the related daily post with the key topics that I cover and repeat. Yep, for sure. Wendy asked, what if clients are offline? What would non-internet savvy people go where they are online? AOL. That's a good question. You're going to have to do market research to figure out where they are hanging out, where they are asking questions. Cool. And I want to dive into the Infinite Growth Challenge as well. So you guys can ask your questions on this as I talk about the limiting beliefs and the Infinite Growth Challenge and your limiting stories and all of that good stuff. So this is so important because we all have a story that we're telling ourselves of I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I can't afford it, or like just name a million different things. And I'm telling you, those stories that you're telling yourself are going to stop you from doing what you actually want to do in the world. Because what happens when you keep telling yourself, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it? You're never going to be able to afford it, right? Like it's just never going to happen. Instead, you could switch it and ask yourself a question: how can I afford it? So that's something that like I've never ever said I can't afford it. It's always been, okay, that's worth it. How can I make this happen? So asking a different question. And I want you to think, what other limiting beliefs do you have? So I'm not good enough, or no one's going to join, right? And so just switching it around and being aware of the language that we're actually speaking to ourselves, of, telling ourselves, I am a leader, I am good enough, I have 100 students in this program, and just reframing it. And it's something that just by reframing it, it's going to give you that perspective, and it's something that you have to actually like shove into your brain over and over again. And so I've done a ton of work with Tony Robbins. I've been to Unleash the Power Within, Date with Destiny. I'm going to Business Mastery in January. I worked with a Tony Robbins coach for an entire year. One of the things that he has you do is actually speak out loud in incantation. And so it's speaking out loud your beliefs with power and intensity. And so not just like an affirmation where you're like, I am worthy, yay. You're like, no, like I am whatever it is that you want to declare. And so you have to actually say like, I am this, I am a leader. So saying it with power and intensity. One of the things that he had us do at Date with Destiny, Crazy event, so good. It was literally like 1:30 in the morning, and he had us do an incantation walk around the hotel where we're screaming out loud what our incantations were. So, so, so powerful, right? But it's really important that we change these beliefs and we reframe them, because if you don't, they're going to keep you stuck forever. They will. The limiting story that you have is limiting your potential. So you guys, this is bonus stuff. You don't have to do this, but I recommend it. Is figuring out what limiting story that you have, and just know that everyone has one. And as you grow in your business, you're going to have a new one that comes up that you're going to have to work through. And as you get to another level, you're going to have another one that you're going to have to work through. So this is something you're going to constantly kind of have to work through. And I want you to turn that limiting story into an empowering one. And it's okay if the first time you read it and you're like, yeah, right. Like, I don't believe it. Over time, with repetition, by speaking it out loud with power and intensity, by writing it down over and over and over again. Gosh, I started doing this back when I started my first business, when you're living in St. Louis, when I was in grad school, and I would write down the things that I wanted to become. Like, I am a leader, because I didn't feel like I was one and I wanted to be one, right? So I have some of your guys' homework that I wanted to pull up as well. So Courtney said, my limiting story, what do I have to offer regarding Pinterest content writing or helping others that hasn't been done? I'm not supported by others. People think it's a joke that I'm doing this to make money. So what's there to say I can actually help others? My empowering story is I am different. I love helping, serving others. I can offer personal attention that no one else can. I'm trained. I keep training. I keep learning. So I am an expert in SEO, Pinterest, and content writing. I believe in me, so no one else has to. She says, I literally take my limiting story every day, picture myself stomping on it. It's still there. Every time I fail forward, it's still creeping into my brain. Stomping on it is what I do to move forward, even if it's just a step. And I think this is really important. A lot of times we have this in our heads of, so I'm teaching you like how to create content and how to create a course, how to monetize your course, and how to actually become an expert. And a lot of times we think this is already being done. Like, why would someone buy from me when they could buy from someone else? And that was the exact same thing when I started. There were other Pinterest experts and Pinterest courses out there. So why would someone buy from me? And I want you to understand that you have unique gifts, unique talents, and the way that you teach is different than everyone else. And so people will want to learn from you because of who you are as a person. That's why I'm really passionate about being yourself and putting yourself out there. So, how can you show up as more of you every day, right? You're going to attract your tribe and you're going to freaking crush it. So, Courtney, for you, like, you have so much to offer. And you just have to really start to like embody that and start doing those incantations and start journaling it out over and over and over again, that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are a Pinterest expert and a content writing and SEO expert. You're freaking awesome. And thousands of people would be so, so, so lucky and blessed to have that opportunity to work with you, to learn from you, and have your expertise guiding them. Whew. Okay, let me check. Leah says, yeah, get rid of my limiting beliefs. Yes, girlfriend. Another thing that's really important too is just being aware of actually what you're putting inside of your head. And so, like, what are you listening to on a daily basis? What are you consuming? Are you watching the news? Are you like putting negativity in? So, I'm very, very cautious to guard myself of negativity. And I was actually being interviewed on a podcast this morning, and we were talking about this woman has 5 different companies. She's scaling $100 million business. And we're talking about how we keep ourselves in this like bubble of entrepreneurship, this positivity bubble. And it's like we don't allow ourselves to be distracted by people who are complaining, like just have negative attitudes. And so, one, ask yourself, who are you hanging out with? And are they helping you grow as a person? If not, you need to find, like, intentionally surround yourself with new friends, which is why I'm really passionate about being a part of a mastermind. I've been a part of a mastermind for the past 2 years. That's why I'm really passionate about Activate and getting you in a group, like into a group of women who are growing and on the same journey as you. And you guys are empowering each other, inspiring each other, and working together and growing together. So look at the 5 people that you're hanging out with. Are they where you want to be or where you aspire to be? If not, you need to change your associations. And then look at what you're putting in your head. What podcasts are you listening to? Podcast one. If not, you need to start. Like, what books are you reading? What movies are you watching? Like, all this stuff matters. And it's like the more I really start to understand this, the more I'm so intentional about not putting garbage in, right? Because garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so important. Okay. Giselle says, my stories have been, I can't do this. I don't know enough, no matter how much I learn, and who's going to listen and buy. How can you reframe that? I can do this. Everything I need to know right now is within me now, and I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly growing, and the right people will buy from me. Sarah says, my limiting thoughts, this is all available out there for free. No one's going to pay for this. You would be so shocked, okay? A lot of, like, there's Pinterest content out there for free, so why would people buy a course? And why would I still buy courses? Why would I buy a sales course? I spent $500 to buy Jordan Belfort's sales training course. Why would I do that when there's sales training out there? Because I want to learn from him specifically. He's very, very, very smart when it comes to sales. And 2, it's a system that he put together. People will pay to have the system instead of having to go and put together all the pieces that are outdated on their own. Aaron says the mindset shift is more than half the battle. So important to change what you tell yourself every day. Yes, literally, this is 80%. Business is 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. So this part, really important. So I'm happy we get to talk about this today. Hit me up with your questions, you guys. It could be about the limiting beliefs. It could be about the content. It could be about anything that we've covered so far. It could be about whatever the heck you want. Sherry said, following on Sarah's questions, you said you don't hold back in your blogs, and I've seesawed between how I can provide enough value to cut through the noise of my free content without gutting my paid content, and I'm still not sure. I mean, you want to add value for sure. It's so like there's stuff that you could find on my blog that might be part of the course of Pin with Purpose, but again, it's like one tiny piece of it. And if someone reads that post, they're not going to be able to go and have success on Pinterest. They might be able to implement something to get like a quick win, but if they really want to crush it, they need the strategy. And the whole strategy is in Pin with Purpose, okay? Stephanie says, I'm making sure my fiance is listening to this. This is what he struggles with to a T. Yes. Hi, fiance. So some people that I've listened to that have helped me with this, Ed Milet, adore him. He has a great podcast, great YouTube channel. He's amazing. Tony Robbins. So those are the 2 people that I go to when it comes to just like working on my head. Giselle says, I am enough. There are ladies waiting for me to show up to overcome their limiting beliefs. Actually, just showing up for these past few days has helped. Yes, for sure. All right, hit me up with your questions. Something that Ed Milet said too that is huge. It makes such a big difference as we struggle with that like lack of believing in ourselves and that lack of confidence because we don't keep the promises that we make to ourselves. And so how could you make a promise to yourself and actually show up and make it happen and be very intentional about it? So if you say like, I'm going to the gym and this is my workout, go to the gym and make it happen. If you have something on your to-do list of this is what I'm committed to doing, commit to doing it. Commit to making it happen. Like those little things that you think don't matter, like no one's going to see it if I don't do this. It matters to you. And so one of the things I wrote in my journal after I watched his video on that, I was like, oh, that is so good. And I wrote down, I always keep the promises I make to myself. Huge, huge. I do love Ed Milet. He is so good. Emma, can you expand on the need for 1,000-word blog post? I really struggle to write that amount in a post. Yes, it's for search engine optimization. And ideally, Neil Patel said it should be more like 2,000. And I don't want to tell you to write 2,000 words because I struggle with that too. And what I do is I'll create like the topic of it, and then I'll break it down to like step 1 will be this, step 2 will be this, step 3 will be this. And so I have the outline of it, kind of like you're writing a school paper. I don't know if you ever did that. So I'll have like the steps, the 5 steps, and then I'll go back and I'll just fill it in and do your best. If it's like 800, it's okay. The more you do it, the easier it'll get. The first name, Ed Milet. Ed Milet. I'll put this in the chat. He is a cool dude. And I wrote it down that I'm going to be in his podcast and be mentored by him. So watch, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Heather, how do you overcome the mindset of I don't want to intrude? This is actually something that I've gotten so much better at, of just because I have surrounded myself with very successful people, multimillionaires. Again, power of association. Surround yourself with people that you want to be like and learn from. And they've really hammered into my mind that you have to ask for what you want and you're not intruding. Like, you have to freaking go for it. You're not intruding when you like have good intentions. So ask for what you want. Okay? It's really, really, really important. And the worst that's going to happen is they say no. Literally. Like, worst case scenario, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So ask. Ask and ask big. Keeping our promises to ourselves, going to work out as soon as this is done. Hoya! I like it. I like it. Catherine, you mentioned earlier about focusing on 1 or 2 things first and getting good at those. I need to work on choosing, say, Pinterest and Instagram and posting regularly there, but lots of people say I should have a Facebook group to send people to. Would you recommend growing a Facebook group alongside or waiting to get good at the other things first? I would do Pinterest, and then I would do the Facebook group, and then I would do Instagram. So start with Pinterest. When you feel confident, you're consistent, you're doing really well there, add the Facebook group, get confident, consistent there, then add Instagram. And by that time, I'm hoping you are profitable. You can hire a social media manager that can help you and take over this stuff. How do you surround yourself with millionaires? Masterminds. And so the first mastermind I was a part of, the leader was a millionaire, but most of the people in it were not, because I wasn't at that level yet. Right? So I wasn't at that level. So it was people who were starting to grow their business. They were a few 6-figure earners. And as I grew this business, even my mentor in of that mastermind told me, she's like, you need to up level. Like, I have to kick you out. Basically, you need to up level. So I was very intentional about finding my mentor who has a $40 million company, and there are millionaires in that mastermind that I surround myself with. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. And so you want to find the people that have what you want. They have the lifestyle that you want. They have the same core values and beliefs that you have. See how you can be mentored by them. See how you can learn from them. And it will turn a decade of you trying to figure it out on your own and compress it into a few days if you're at the right mastermind, right? Huge. All right. What other questions do you guys have? And you'll see, like, as you start surrounding yourself with more and more successful people, it's how do I say this? People who are struggling financially are always looking at the cost. How much does this cost? People who are successful financially are always thinking about the worth. Like, is this worth it? And so there's a mastermind that I'm going to be a part of. I'm declaring it. It costs $100,000 a year to be in that mastermind. Yes, that's expensive, right? But what's it worth to be surrounded by that high caliber of people who would invest that amount of money to be in that mastermind and to learn from the people that are running it? Someone who's created a $100 million business before the age of 30, right? Huge, huge. It's a mindset shift for sure. For sure. My husband still doesn't get it. I don't tell him everything I spend on my business because he'd think I was nuts. Nuts. He's like, it works. I don't need to know. Emma, where do you find out about masterminds? A lot of people say they are vital. Where do you go for one who's right for my level, like a beginner? You might be a good fit for Activate. So we're going to be talking about that more tomorrow. So I encourage you to apply. Figure out who you want to be mentored by and see if they have a group program like that. But definitely be on the lookout for Activate because you might be a good fit. Michelle, how many hours a week do you work on average on your business? 20 to 25. And I will work a heck of a lot less when baby number 2 is here. You don't have to kill yourself. So, one of our former students, she was working as a corporate tax accountant, making good money, but she had 2 babies and was commuting an hour each way to go to and from work. She just had her 3rd baby. She has 3 babies under 4. She's making more in her business of less than a year of learning my strategy, okay? Working, she's working 10 hours a week, earning more than she did in her corporate accounting job, working 10 hours a week, being home with her babies. You don't have to work crazy, crazy hours to have a freaking awesome business. And I don't want you to, because I want you to have a freaking awesome life too. And a lot of my students are moms. And so I want to teach you the smart strategies to grow and scale a company so you're not a slave to your business. Huge. So important to me. I will not be working 80-hour weeks. No, no. No, no. Other questions, you guys? This is your time and I'm here for you. Biggest takeaway so far of the past 4 days. And oh, I have to find a winner. A winner, winner, winner for Amazon. Da, 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 da. Aaron Turnbull Holmes. You won $25. Can you send me your email address, please? Giselle, when doing the topics, can I have subtopics as well and do post on them as well? So the importance of drinking water and then what alternatives like infused water? Yeah. So it could be a blog post on drinking water and then you could have subtopics of different alternatives, like if you have a schedule on what you drink water, like a system of what you follow, totally. Michelle, what do you keep for yourself to work on? What do you give to your VA? I know that's a big question, but in general. So it didn't start this way, and I want to be clear, but as I've grown and scaled the company, I stick to the things that only I can do. So only I can show up and do a coaching call. Only I can show up and do a podcast interview. Only I, well, not only I could hire a content writer to write our emails, but I kind of like doing that. So I'm going to keep doing that. But I think about what are the things that only I can do in my business. And then, so when it comes to like our podcast, I have someone on our team that actually goes out and finds people to be on the podcast or goes through our applications that we get for the podcast. And then they go through, they get them scheduled. It's on my calendar. They go through and create questions for me to ask and put it in a Google Doc and share it with me. So I show up to the interview and I press record, do the podcast interview, and then I take that and I send it to someone on our team who then she edits it, she creates show notes, she uploads it to iTunes, she publishes the show notes on the blog post, and then she'll take that content and create videos for it on YouTube, on Facebook, on Insta stories. And so when you see like me in all of these places, it's not me doing all of that work. It might seem like it, but we have a killer team that's behind me and supporting me. And I definitely don't do all of it myself. So always ask yourself, what are the things that only you can do? And then eventually you'll want to have a team that can take care of the rest. Does that make sense? You're welcome, Erin. Wendy, are filler posts during the week good? Like big posts and small pics and motivational stuff 2 times for your blog? Nah, I don't think it's worth it personally. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Other questions? Anything, anything. Last call before tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna map out your income generating like plan. Basically, we have so much to talk about tomorrow. So I hope you're ready and I hope you're excited. Um, Mallory, do you have a copywriter? As someone who's on a limited budget, what's the average price range for a qualified quality copywriter? One of my clients is a copywriter, so if you need a good one, right now she's still relatively cheap, and I'm going to have her increase her prices really soon. Dawn Apuan, I'll put her name here. I would reach out to her. I tagged her. She is freaking awesome and just crushes it when it comes to copy and funnels. She was on our podcast. It depends. It really depends. There are some copywriters that will charge $750 for a sales page, and there are some that'll charge $20,000 for a sales page. Typically, we hire copywriters when we do like a launch, so a challenge, and we hire people that are there. We have a team that we work with that does copy and design, and they'll create the copy for our sales page. They'll create copy for the challenge itself, and so they're actually kind of like challenge strategists. They'll create the emails that we send out. They'll create the nurture sequence that we send before and the sales emails. They do a lot, and for that, I want to say it's between $7,000 and $9,000. So it's not something I started with. The first two challenges that I did everything on my own. But then as I made money, I invested it back into my business to help it grow faster. And so the first time I hired this copywriter and designer, it was like $5,000 for them to do our sales page and like all this stuff. And we've made probably at least $400,000 from that $5,000 investment. So it's worth it. Like you get someone good, it's worth it, okay? Wendy, what about filler in Instagram and Facebook? If you have the bandwidth and you want to be posting on Facebook and Instagram, go for it. They're not my favorite platforms just because you're not going to get much traction and you have to work really hard to show up there. Kate says, I'd prefer not to teach online, so I don't know what content apart from my paintings and prints is Activate only for people who offer a service to sell. Not necessarily a service, because we have people with products too, but you do need to be willing to put yourself out there and teach online in some shape or form. So one of our current students, she has her own CBD and essential oil line, and she in the past was kind of stuck to her local market of growing her business, and she joined Activate because she wants to reach a broader audience and not just be limited by her local market. And so it doesn't have to be just for what you're referring to. It's okay if you have products as well, but you have to be willing to do things online because that's what we teach and Activate. Working smarter, reaching more people as opposed to just your local market. Yep. Any other questions? Yeah, you guys, if you need copywriting, funnels, Facebook ads too, Dawn is your girl. She's so good. So good. Anything else? Bum, bum, All right, I'll come back for more questions in the group later. I'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock. I'll post the link for Webinar Jam so you can meet me there. Be ready to take notes and really create your game plan because we're going to help you reverse engineer it to help you plan out your 2020. It's going to be epic. So I'll see you guys there. Have an awesome day. Bye, guys.